Some stories stay with you. They cling to the edges of your mind long after you've convinced yourself they're forgotten. They resurface in the quiet moments, when you're brushing your teeth, or walking alone at night, or lying in bed with the lights off and the house settling around you. These aren't ghost stories whispered around a campfire. They're not the exaggerated tales posted online to rack up likes or shock an audience. These are stories told by real people. Those who stumbled into moments that left cracks in their sense of safety, sanity, and reality. They didn't go looking for horror. They simply lived their lives until something found them. Tonight, you're going to hear 3 of those stories. Each one is different. Each one true to the person who lived it. If you're listening in the dark, you might want to turn on another light. If you're alone, you might want to call someone. Because when these stories are over, you won't be sure if you're truly alone anymore. The woman at the dead rode the wrong turn. It was supposed to be a quick drive. Just 30 minutes to pick up a second-hand dresser from a woman selling it online. That's all. Something simple, something routine. Erin had made the drive countless times before, weaving through the rural outskirts outside her town. The road was familiar until suddenly it wasn't. Her GPS recalculated, then recalculated again, then froze. A blank screen. No signal. She slowed her car, gripping the wheel. The sun was setting behind her, bleeding red light across the tree line. Great, she muttered. Just great. The road narrowed. Trees pressed in on both sides, bending inward like skeletal fingers. Erin checked her phone. 1% battery. She cursed under her breath, tossed the phone into her bag, and kept driving. Minutes passed. The road got rougher, the sky dimmer. A knot tightened in her chest. Then she saw it. A fork in the road. Her GPS hadn't mentioned a fork. The left path was paved, cracked but recognizable. The right path was gravel, overgrown, nearly swallowed by brush. At the center of the fork stood a sign D8E and, but the arrow pointed to the left. The gravel road looked wrong, but she remembered the seller mentioning an old farmhouse and a gravel driveway. So Erin turned right. That was her first mistake. It happened fast. One moment the road was empty. The next, a figure stepped directly into her headlights. Erin screamed, slamming on the brakes. Her car skidded to a stop inches from the woman. Heart pounding, Erin leaned forward. The woman was old, frail, hunched, wearing a faded nightgown that clung to her thin frame. Her hair hung in white tangles past her shoulders. Her bare feet were black with dirt. The woman didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink. Erin rolled down her window. "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need?" The woman raised one hand, a single finger, pointing, not at Erin, not at the car, but at something behind her. Erin swallowed hard. She didn't want to turn around. Every instinct screamed don't. But she forced herself to look through the rear view mirror. At first she saw nothing, just trees, shadows. Then something shifted. A figure stood at the far end of the road. Tall, motionless. Too tall for a person. Its outline distorted as if it didn't belong in the world it stood in. "Ma'am," Erin whispered, panic rising in her throat. I don't know where I am. I'm just trying to." The woman lowered her hand and smiled. It wasn't a comforting smile. It was cracked, dry, too wide. A smile that said she knew something Erin didn't. Before Erin could react, the old woman walked. No, floated. Backward into the trees, disappearing between them, as if the forest swallowed her whole. Erin slammed her foot on the gas. The road twisted sharply, throwing her sideways in her seat. Branches clawed at her car, scraping long, violent lines along the doors. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She couldn't stop seeing the figure in the road. Still. Watching. Growing closer with every second she looked away. Her headlights flickered. Her engine sputtered. "No, no, no. Please don't die now." The car lurched forward, coughing, then surged ahead. The trees thinned. She saw a faint light. A house. The seller's house. Please let it be. She pulled into the driveway, jumped out, and ran to the porch. Her hand hovered over the doorbell. Then she froze. The house was wrong. Not old, abandoned. The windows shattered. The door slightly ajar. A rotting smell seeped from inside. Erin backed away slowly. Behind her, a crunch of gravel. She turned her head. Something was standing at the edge of the driveway, not the old woman. Its shape shifted in the dark, hunched, too many limbs bending at unnatural angles. When it moved, the air around it seemed to bend. Erin bolted for her car, got inside, locked the doors. The thing moved closer. Slowly, deliberately. Her engine didn't start. Her battery was dead. Her breath fogged the glass. She could see her own terrified reflection. Then, faintly, in the reflection, she saw something else behind her. The old woman, sitting in the back seat, smiling. "Get out," the woman whispered, voice scraping like rusted metal. "It doesn't like the car." Erin screamed and threw the door open, running blindly down the road. She didn't stop until she reached a paved road with headlights in the distance. She lived. She made it home, but she never found the house. Never found the cellar. The road didn't exist on any map, and when she returned a month later with police, there was no gravel road, no abandoned house, nothing, just forest. But sometimes, when she drives at night, she still sees the old woman standing at the side of the road. Smiling. Pointing. When Jacob bought the old two-story house on Pine Ridge Lane, he thought he'd finally scored his dream place. Cheap, roomy, quiet neighborhood. A fixer-upper, sure, but he was handy enough. But on the very first night, something felt wrong. The house groaned, as old houses do, but this was different. It wasn't random shifting. It was a pattern. A rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. At first he thought it was wind. A loose shutter. Maybe animals. But the sound came from directly above his bedroom. The attic. Jacob tried to ignore it. Old houses make noises, he said out loud, trying to reassure himself. But the noise didn't fade. It grew. Slow, deliberate, like someone was pacing, back and forth, for hours. The next morning he dragged a ladder to the attic hatch. He hesitated. He'd only owned the house for 12 hours. Too soon to be dealing with this. Still, he pushed the hatch open and shined his phone's flashlight around. The beam revealed dust thick as snow, old boxes, broken furniture, and footprints. Human footprints. Fresh ones. Leading toward the far corner of the attic, where the insulation was disturbed. Jacob's heart hammered. He forced a laugh. Probably the previous owner. They said they were up here grabbing stuff before leaving. But the prints weren't dusty or old. They were clear. Sharp. Fresh enough to still have ridges. He backed down the ladder and slammed the hatch shut. 3 nights passed. Jacob stopped sleeping altogether. Every time he closed his eyes, the footsteps resumed. Sometimes slow, sometimes frantic, sometimes stopping directly above him. He tried music. I tried wearing headphones. I tried drowning the noise with a fan. Nothing worked. By the 4th night, the pacing wasn't the only thing he heard. A whisper threaded through the air vents, so faint at first he thought he was imagining it. Then clearer. Jacob. His blood turned to ice. He tore the blankets off, heart pounding, and stared at the vent grate. The whisper came again, stretched, breathy, too close. "Heal me." Jacob scrambled out of bed, grabbed a broom, and climbed onto a chair. He unscrewed the vent cover, half expecting something, someone, to be waiting behind it. Nothing. Just darkness and ductwork. He exhaled shakily, feeling stupid. "I'm overtired. I'm not hearing things. I'm not hearing." A hand slammed against the inside of the vent. Jacob fell backward off the chair, hitting the floor hard. Something scraped through the metal ducts, dragging, clawing, as if trying to force its way through. He ran. He didn't stop running until he was outside the house, barefoot in the cold, staring at the dark windows that felt like eyes staring back at him. The next morning, Jacob called the previous homeowner. She answered on the first ring, voice trembling as soon as she recognized the number. You moved in?" she whispered. "Yes," Jacob snapped. "And there's someone in the attic. I'm calling the police." "No," she cried. "They won't find anything. They never did." Jacob froze. "Never did what?" The woman's voice dropped to a terrified hush. "He doesn't show himself when they're there. He hides. And when they leave, he starts again." Jacob felt the room tilt. "Ooh." The woman didn't answer the question. Instead she said, "Did you open the attic hatch yet?" "Yes." A long exhale. "Then you need to get out of that house now, and don't go back inside when it gets dark." The line went dead. Jacob swallowed. He should have left. He should have gotten in his car and driven until the house vanished in the rear view mirror. But something inside him, stubbornness, anger, pride, pushed him to stay. "If this is some sick joke," he muttered, "I'm ending it tonight." He waited until sunset. Then he climbed the ladder again. This time, he didn't hesitate. He pushed the attic door open and shined a heavy-duty flashlight into the darkness. Something moved. Not a shadow, not a rat, a person. A man stood at the farthest corner of the attic. Gaunt, filthy, eyes sunk deep into his skull, hair matted and long, his skin stretched tight over bone like parchment. When the light hit him, he grinned. Not a normal grin. Too wide. Too many teeth showing. "You finally came up," the man rasped. Jacob almost fell through the hatch. "What the? How did you get in my house?" The man tilted his head. "I never left." Jacob backed down the ladder so fast he twisted his ankle and hit the floor. He scrambled toward the door, but it slammed shut on its own. Heavy steps thudded above him, moving toward the hatch. Then, another voice, a woman's voice, from behind him. "Don't let him come down." Jacob turned. The previous homeowner stood in his hallway, pale, terrified, holding a rope. "I shouldn't have sold this place," she whispered. "He doesn't just live in the attic. He lives in the walls, in the ductwork, in the crawlspaces. He knows every inch of this house." The attic hatch shook violently as something pounded from above. "Help me tie it shut," she screamed. Jacob helped her press the hatch closed. They tied the rope tight around the metal handle. Silence fell. Then, laughing, low at first, then manic, then furious. "I'll come down eventually," the voice hissed through the wood. "You can't keep me up here forever." Jacob packed what he could and left that night. The house still stands, boarded up, unsold for years. Neighbors say they sometimes hear tapping from the attic when they walk by. Others say they see a gaunt face peering through the cracks in the roof. Jacob never went back, but he still dreams about the voice calling his name through the vents. Lena didn't want to go on the trip. Her husband insisted. They needed time away. Nature, silence, a break from screaming neighbors and stressful jobs. Their son Max was excited, too excited. They rented a cabin at Pine Hollow Lakeside Resort, an old retreat built in the 1950s. Most of the cabins were renovated, clean, cozy, except cabin 12. That one was older, more isolated, backing up to the forest with no other cabins nearby. When they checked in, the owner hesitated. "You're sure about cabin 12?" she asked Lena. "We've had issues there." "What kind of issues?" Lena asked. The owner's eyes flickered toward Max. "Noise complaints," she said quickly. "Animals in the walls. Nothing dangerous. Just old cabin problems." Lena didn't like the evasiveness, but they were tired from the drive. They stayed. That night the problems started. Part T. The boy who wasn't there. Max woke them at 3 a.m. "Mom," he whispered, shaking her arm. "There's a boy outside." Lena bolted upright. "What boy?" "He was looking in my window." Max's voice trembled. "He asked if I wanted to come play in the woods." Lena felt her stomach drop. She rushed to his bedroom. The window was cracked open, curtains blowing in the cold breeze. Footprints, small, child-sized, led from the window straight into the forest. They called the resort owner in a panic. She arrived in minutes, flashlight in hand, breathing hard. When she saw the footprints, her face drained. "Not again," she whispered. Lena grabbed her arm. "What do you mean, not again? What's happening?" The owner swallowed. "Don't go into the woods. And whatever you do, don't answer if you hear a child calling your son's name." "Why?" Lena demanded. The owner didn't answer, but the fear in her eyes was enough. The second night, the knocking started soft. Rhythmic. Tock, tock, tock. Lena's husband checked the peephole. No one there. Knocking again. This time from the back door. Then the side door. Then outside Max's window. Max curled into his mother's chest, sobbing. "Don't let him in." Her husband grabbed a kitchen knife and stood guard by the door. At 4 a.m. the power went out. The cabin shuddered as something scraped along the walls outside, circling, pacing. Then a voice, clear, young, calling through the dark woods. "Max, I'm cold, come play with me." Max's scream tore through the cabin. Lena slammed her hands over his ears. Her husband stepped back from the door. "That's not a kid," he whispered. The voice grew louder, more desperate. "Max, I can't find my houses, come help me." That's when the owner called. "Get away from the windows!" she shouted. "Both of you!" That thing is not a child. Something slammed against the front door hard enough to crack the wood. "Lie me. Ein." The voice was no longer human. Max's eyes rolled back and he slumped forward, fainting. They held the door shut until sunrise. When the sun rose, the knocking stopped. The voice faded. The power returned. But Max didn't wake. The owner arrived with 2 local deputies. She finally told them the truth. Years ago, a boy named Caleb went missing from cabin 12. He'd wandered into the forest and was never found. His parents reported seeing him in the woods after his disappearance, standing still among the trees, watching them silently. Other families later reported similar sightings. A boy knocking on windows, asking other children to come play. The resort closed cabin 12 for years, until new owners reopened it, thinking the stories were superstition. They were wrong. "What does it want?" Lena asked, clutching Max's limp hand. "To replace itself," the owner said. "It's looking for another child." Max didn't wake for 2 days. When he finally opened his eyes, he whispered, "Hey, almost got me, Mommy." Lena hugged him tightly. They packed and left immediately. 2 weeks after returning home, Lena developed the photos from their trip. Most were normal, smiling faces, lake views, hiking trails. But the last photo made her blood run cold. It was a picture Max had taken of the cabin porch. In the far background, standing just beyond the tree line, a small boy, pale, expressionless, eyes black as voids. His hand was raised, waving, and behind him, half hidden in the trees, stood dozens of other small shapes, all children, all staring at the camera, all waiting. Lena dropped the photo and backed away. That night, as she tucked Max into bed, he whispered, "Mom, I heard him again." Her heart froze. "He said he knows where we live now."